We'll go ahead and get started since it seems like people have already joined. So hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be taking a little bit of time to talk about the UVA and William and Mary Climate Action Partnership. My name is Morgan Foster. I'm a fourth-year EVA, and I'm one of the sustainability interns. Today, I'm joined by my coworker, Nora, and then we also have two representatives from William and Mary as well, Madeline and Olivia. And so today we'll just be taking a little bit of time to talk to you guys about each of our respective universities' climate plans, and then we'll be hearing from additional student speakers from both UVA and William and Mary as well. Excuse me. So just to start out with, for just general information about what the Climate Action Plan is. So both UVA and William and Mary entered in a partnership in 2019 with the aim to support each other in initiatives for sustainability, promoting carbon emissions to be at net zero by 2030. And so this partnership is focusing on three separate areas. The first of which is regularly sharing information about climate action planning. The second one is collaboration on outreach and engagement opportunities between both universities. And then the third one is working together to support both of the institutions in Virginia in their climate action planning and the implementation. And so this sort of presentation is the culmination of one of the byproducts of this partnership, in which student representatives will be talking about their involvement in their respective universities' partnerships for sustainability, and then how we all sort of come together to better further these initiatives that are set through this partnership.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and to introduce the William and Mary's Climate Action Roadmap, I think it can be really beneficial to start with this infographic. It illustrates that the Climate Action Roadmap is multifaceted and that each area is really crucial to achieving goals that are outlined. These goals were drafted last year by sustainability working groups composed of students, faculty, and staff from across William and Mary. As you can see, the areas are 2030 carbon neutral campus, education and research, and William and Mary community action. It's important to note that these areas are all connected by William and Mary's central mission of learning and empowerment. Additionally, this applies to William and Mary's graduate schools and the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. Now we'll get a chance to learn a bit more about each of these areas.
Hi everyone, my name is Madeline. I am the student specialist for the greenhouse gas audit at William and Mary, and I'm going to talk about William and Mary's plan to address education and academics within sustainability. So the first point of this you're going to see is curriculum and teaching, and this is really about making climate and sustainability an integral part of the curriculum. This is seen through the making sustainability part of the Call 350 by 2023 and through the recent expansion of environmental science and policy to be the environmental and sustainability program that happened within the last week. The next point, research and scholarship, is focusing on expanding research opportunities and funding for everyone by 2023. So this is so any student who wants to get involved has the opportunity to do so. For All Time Coming is really about building student sustainability knowledge as soon as they arrive on campus and supporting them through the years. This is seen through exposing them in orientation in 2023 and through a postgraduate student sustainability information in 2024 and a pilot program to help students develop their own sustainability plans by 2026. Employee development is really about making sure all William and Mary employees have the knowledge, expertise, and training in sustainability. And sustainability certifications and coastal resiliency is about exploring coastal resilience certification with WM+, William and Mary Law School, Virginia Coastal Policy Center, and the Office of Sustainability, and hopefully creating a whole network of sustainability certifications in the future. And lastly, curriculum and research support is really about empowering the faculty to incorporate sustainability so that any faculty in any department has the opportunity to do this. This will be done working with the STLI, which is the Studio for Teaching and Learning Innovation, and increasing connections between faculties and departments to have the conversation about how they will be able to incorporate sustainability.
The next focal area of the climate action roadmap is that by 2030, William and Mary will achieve a carbon neutral campus. A lot of the goals that fall under this general area may be some of the more obvious ones, but still super important. The first goal is 100% renewable energy, which means that all of William and Mary's electricity will be sourced from renewables. Heating and cooling also ties into this, with a goal of creating a strategy to address the use of fossil fuels used in buildings for heating and cooling. The next goal is to reduce building energy use up by 15%, and then also create a strategy for a campus fleet that has zero carbon emissions. This will be achieved by switching official university vehicles to electric or hybrid options when vehicles are in need of being replaced. Another important feature of this goal is implementing a structure to make departments responsible for the price of carbon offsets for their vehicles. The big part of the carbon proxy program is coming up soon, with the university set to select a university price for carbon by 2023. Lastly is the higher education resilience planning worksheet, which will explore a campus resilience plan for higher education grounds and operations, sort of to ensure that the rest of these goals kind of stay on track.
So the last part of the climate action roadmap is community action. So the first one is reducing the volume of municipal waste going to landfills by 65%. This is done with community participation, increasing campus waste diversion by 2023, eliminating single-use plastic by 2025, and the pilot program to have a zero waste building by 2026. The next one, sustainable procurement, will be incorporating social and environmental sustainability when making purchases. This is seen with stronger partnerships and visibility with certified small, women, and minority-owned businesses, and the identification of sustainable businesses in the university's procurement system. And then the third point is really about increasing plant-based options within the dining halls with a larger focus on sourcing from local farmers markets. The green transit design is about expanding and incentivizing green transportation options on and off campus by collaborating locally and regionally. This can be seen through the placement of electric car chargers on BIM's campus and main campus by 2024 and expanding the bike lanes. The fifth point is really about the hiring practices and creating suggestions on how sustainability can be incorporated into hiring practices and human resources by 2025. And the last point is study abroad programming. So this is about developing resources and procedures for individuals to address their environmental impact abroad. This will be used for students by implementing sustainability into study abroad programming by working with local partners to reduce their environmental impact and adding sustainability as a pre-departure curriculum by 2022. Another part of this is also exploring offsetting international flights by 2026.
Hi everyone, I'm Nora. I'm from UVA's Office for Sustainability. So UVA's plan or sustainability plan is set up basically in 10 steps, with the main sections being engage, steward, and discover. And so I'll just run through those steps with you. First, we'll go to governance and collaboration. So environmental, economic, and equity consideration and decision-making, building accountability for sustainability goal achievement at every level of the university. So this is very important in our office, specifically with facilities management and buildings in general, because we focus a lot on making sure new buildings are up to standard and certification. Next, we get into the engage goals, which would be to partner with our community to accelerate collaborative initiatives to advance sustainable, equitable, and healthy places for all. So this partnership is an example of that. And then we also have partnerships in the community that we where we try to encourage sustainability in the greater Charlottesville community rather than just at UVA. Next up, we have the steward goals, which is living our values. And these are known as our 30 by 30 goals, mainly focused on reducing water usage, fossil fuel usage, and nitrogen. So first is to be carbon neutral by 2030 and fossil fuel free by 2050. Next up is to reduce reactive nitrogen losses to the environment 30% below 2010 levels by 2030. And then next, reduce potable water consumption 30% below 2010 levels by 2030. Reduce waste footprint to 30% of 2010 totals by 2030. The reduce waste goal is actually one of our steepest goals, I would say, because we are trying to cut back on our waste footprint by 70% in 20 years. And then 7 is to increase sustainable food production to 30% of the annual total by 2030. Lastly, we have our Discover goals, which include curriculum and research. So enhancing sustainability focused teaching, curricular development, and experiential learning, promoting sustainability research and UVA's reputation as a locus of sustainability, and then fostering collaborations that enable mutually beneficial community and grounds engaged research and learning.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Neil. I am a current senior at W&M and UVA, and throughout my time here, I've been kind of focused on advocacy among the student body for promoting sustainable living. So I'm super excited to be able to share that with you. This is going to have some mention of W&M and UVA resources, but this is just generally some ideas to get started if you're interested in more sustainable living as a college student. This is really important because as young people, this future is our own, and it's important to be able to kind of live and practice what we preach and make sure that as we kind of go forward with climate mitigation and plans that we are actively seeking to improve our own practices in our everyday lives. So sustainability doesn't just include environmental sustainability. Here we've defined 3 different lenses. So the overall conservation of nature and that relation to natural resources, social sustainability, so being able to maintain those practices over time, and then economic sustainability, so ensuring that there is a level of justice and a level of resource preservation as we work towards kind of being more sustainable. I know, especially myself, I went through the experience of not really knowing what any of that meant coming into college, and definitely not understanding how that would play out in my everyday life. But when you think about it, when you come to college, for a lot of people, it's their first time really actively consuming their own resources, going out of your way to make food choices and spending a lot of your own money for the first time. So it's really important to recognize what you do in college and the impact that that has, and how you can reduce that. So the first thing is reducing, refusing, and reusing. I know we have a lot of emphasis on recycling, especially when you kind of get to college and you learn about your residence hall and they teach you where to recycle. But really the first step to that is reducing and reusing plastic as much as possible. And one thing that I really want to emphasize here is that I know sustainability can get branded as something that you have to pay for, that you want to buy new products that are branded as more sustainable. A lot of the time, the most sustainable option is just not buying something new. So whether it's reusing old takeout containers, getting certain reusable products, or just making more food at home and not having to take care of more and more plastic bottles, those little choices add up. Other things that you can do are bar forms of deodorant, shampoo, conditioner, or powders that will usually come in metal tins. You can make your own. That's something that I've seen on Pinterest, and people look like they have fun with it. Razors, I have a safety razor that doesn't have any plastic, and all you do is replace the metal blades. And then toothbrushes. So again, not necessarily buying you can buy a bamboo toothbrush that is compostable. But on the other hand, you can just get a really durable one that you know that you're not going to have to replace for a while. And in that vein, you're able to kind of promote sustainability. So there's a lot of other ideas, and I definitely recommend looking into these overall resources. One other big thing is fashion sustainability. A lot of the time, I know there's pressure to, you can't, post on Instagram wearing the same outfit or something. Getting over that and understanding that, fast fashion isn't our friend. Being able to slow down, trade clothes with friends, stuff like that is something really fun that you can do and be more sustainable without even realizing it. So recycling, I know, is going to look different on every campus. Here at William and Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, Olivia and Madeline, but I believe we just switched from single stream into more separated recycling practices. So you can usually find it in your residence halls and academic buildings, and then making sure that you're checking the number on the bottom of those recyclings or recyclable plastics, and making sure that you're recycling the right ones, especially now that we may not be taking all of these. I know at William and Mary, there we go, Olivia just said ones and twos are now recyclable. We also have some recycling at SWEM Library where you can take like batteries, some plastic bags, I believe, and like other things. And if you can't find that, or if you have something else that you're like, this shouldn't go in the trash, make sure to check out the sustainability website. There's also going to be probably a waste management website or someone that you can reach out to about that, and making sure that whatever is going in is getting disposed of in some like careful way. So another really big consideration with recycling is contamination. I know that this is something that's starting to be touched on more, but like we don't really talk about in a lot of like recycling education, is basically just making sure that whatever you're recycling is clean, especially of like food debris. So if something is like greasy or has food, if a paper product is like greasy, has any form of food on it, it just can't be recycled, period. So like pizza boxes, I think are the big example that just shouldn't go in there. You can compost those, and then we'll get into that later. But if you're like interested in this, make sure to like look up recycling contamination and look up ways that you can reduce it, because it doesn't only make that item unrecyclable, it can end up making like an entire batch of recycling unable to process. So while we want to emphasize recycling, I definitely want to emphasize that previous slide the most, that refusing, reducing, and reusing are a lot more effective than recycling because of issues like this. Cool. So lastly, why does recycling matter? I know it can feel like a bit of a chore, but it saves energy. So you are using these new old recyclable materials instead of constantly having to create more plastic. Plastic also being a fossil fuel derivative, as we talk about climate neutrality, climate justice, these types of things are really important to consider where our resource is coming from. Again, avoiding landfills, so just avoiding that trash buildup, because like what's the purpose of having so much waste when we can easily reduce or reuse and make that less of an option. And then lastly, and something really important that can contribute to economic sustainability, is that it supports clean jobs. If you, especially on campuses where we might have such a large demographic influence on the surrounding area, like William and Mary students do in Williamsburg, UVA students in Charlottesville, the decisions that we make on campus not only affect us, but affect those broader communities. So by doing that, by ensuring more sustainable action within UVA, you're also helping the broader Charlottesville community. And this is just one example of how that works. Cool. Okay, my favorite, composting. So this is something that is kind of growing on campus, and it's really exciting to see all of the progress that William and Mary has made with composting. We have, I don't think it's on the slides, but William and Mary students, we do have a composting map that's available, I believe, on the sustainability website. So if you're wondering where's the closest place that I can go drop off compost, go ahead and check that out. Just look it up on Google, or feel free to reach out to one of us afterwards. So composting is just the practice of disposing of food waste. I think it's like 40% of produce in the United States goes to waste every year. So while there should be, supply chain issues that can be looked at, the best way on our end is to compost it to make sure it goes to doesn't go to waste. I believe in the dining halls, they do compost all food, but generally if you're composting on your own, you should just stick to like plant products and eggshells, I believe. And then eggshells, I think you're gonna wanna make sure that they're clean. I live off campus. It's not convenient for me to go compost, but I don't know if I should share this. I took a shopping cart from like the grocery store across from me and made my own compost bin. And then like I can tell my friends, like, come drop off your compost, like it's a it's not really a fun little activity, but it is something fun to like have your friends come by and drop off their compost. Definitely fun like neighborhood activity that you can do. I've brought it to like gardens. I sometimes, if I don't have anywhere to bring it to, I will just bring it to the compost bins on campus. But it's something really, really easy to do at home that you can, and it's cool to see your own like footprint kind of pile up in there instead of the trash. So I guess I won't go into this too much because this is more what actually happens when you compost, but there's like the greens and browns. So basically think about it as like dry things like paper and wood versus anything else that is probably going to be like wet or fresher. If you happen to be compost on your own, you just want to make sure that these are layered on top of each other, you get airflow. And then there's some really interesting science behind it. So if you are kind of on the science side of things, definitely a lot of kind of research and academic interest in this area is going to be really important in the next few years. Cool. So yeah, that basically kind of says why we sort those out. Cool. So I know composting, it does kind of get kind of gross. It smells bad, but it does make a really big difference. You're producing fertilizer. So at the end of the day, once the compost is all composted, people can use it in their gardens. You can give it to a farm. I believe William and Mary I believe William and Mary gives ours to a local farm. So when we're doing it on that large scale, we really, really start to see the differences add up. So yeah, it creates that fresh soil. We're also reducing the amount of waste that our space takes up and preventing that from turning into methane. So when food waste is just sitting in a landfill, it's going to go to methane and also just go to complete waste because all of those nutrients are then just ending up back in the landfill rather than back in an ecosystem where they can be used. Cool. And last but not least, I know that this is definitely kind of a hot topic among college students, but one of the best ways that we as community and you as an individual can reduce your impact on the environment is to kind of start moving towards a more plant-forward diet. And a lot of time when people hear that, they get scared or they get like uncomfortable because for whatever reason, they want to eat meat, want to eat dairy. That is totally fine. You absolutely do not have to give up meat or dairy. What this means is thinking critically about reducing your consumption, both on a time scale. So maybe you have meat for 1 meal a day instead of 2, or maybe you cut out a meat entirely, do like a meatless Monday, or encourage your dining hall to do a meatless Monday, perhaps. But definitely recommend like checking out different resources. I think I found a lot of inspiration from just like different cooking blogs and finding what's going to work for me. A lot of the time I will like take home, I think UVA, you guys might have a similar program where we have like a take home box from dining halls. A lot of the time, if I'm not don't feel like grocery shopping, I'll just get a bunch of like vegetables from there, and then it's low waste. You're using what's already made at the dining halls, you don't use any plastic, and then you can cook yourself your own meal. So I know that this is going to look different for everyone, but just keeping in mind your dietary impact and kind of looking at what your local options are and what you can do. So that being said, all of these are really tangible steps that you can take to reduce your personal footprint. I know kind of with the overwhelming fear of like climate change and what's going on in the world, it's definitely hard to believe that these actions can make a difference. But as we continue to do that, and as we continue to advocate for our communities to do better, our community on campus or our hometown or Charlottesville, Williamsburg, wherever you are, these differences do really add up, and advocating for them is going to be a really important part to moving towards a more sustainable future.
All right, thank you so much, Neil. Our next speaker is Julianne Future from UVA. She is one of Morgan and I's coworkers at the Office for Sustainability. She leads UVA Sustainability Advocates Program, and she is the Sustainability Chair at Zeta Tau Alpha at UVA.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. Today, I just want to talk a little bit about what my role is at the Office for Sustainability and what we do for the office in order to achieve UVA's goals, but also how the actions that I've been through so far have shaped my personal climate goals and the lens with which I look to achieve sustainable goals going forward. So what I do for the office, I am on the outreach team. So the main focus of this is getting students involved. So whether that be through student organizations or events, that is what I'm working on for the most part. So a big part of that is running this program that's called the Sustainability Advocates. And the way this program operates, it's a group of around 30 to 60 students, depending on the semester. And we focus on subgroup projects. So all of the students are divided into groups of about 5 to 7, and they're given an overarching topic for that semester. So for instance, this semester we are focusing on plants, and that's our overarching topic. We call it Growing for Change to give it a cute little name. And within that, all of the subgroups are focusing on everything from biophilic design, food waste, plant-based eating, sustainable restaurants, gardening. And so my job is to connect all of these students with the resources of the Office for Sustainability in order for them to implement these semester-long projects. Along with the projects, we also have speakers come to the meeting in order to connect them with sustainability at UVA and within the Charlottesville community as a whole. So as of right now, these subgroup projects are really coming to life as we're approaching the end of the semester, which is really exciting. Just last Friday, we were able to take a trip to the gardening store with 2 of our subgroups because a lot of them needed plants for the projects that they're implementing. And that was a really great way to engage with Charlottesville and expand beyond just UVA and to introduce these students to sustainability outside of the school. And so these are kind of goals that we have set for ourselves this semester in terms of achieving things like eating plant-based or reducing food waste. Last semester, the overarching subject for all of our projects were UVA's sustainability goals and all of these 2030 goals that Nora and Morgan went through earlier in this presentation. So we didn't cover every single goal just because some of them are kind of hard to do in a semester-long project, but we did have groups that worked on projects for food, water, teaching, nitrogen, equity, research, and carbon neutrality. And so one that I want to focus on is carbon neutrality because I know that is a big goal that this panel is focused on. So our carbon neutral subgroup was working on tabling at an event that we have that's called Lighting of the Lawn. So basically this is a really large light show that's on the rotunda and all around the lawn, uses a lot of electricity because the lights are flashing, there's different colors, it's time to the music. And this event is actually run by solar power, which is something that not a lot of people know, but it's something that's really cool about the event. And so what this group was doing was they were working to make sure that students know that it's solar powered, and also teaching students a little bit about solar power. And so they worked at the event and also in the weeks leading up to it, tabling, doing trivia, also working with an organization called Sun Tribe Solar and Seaville Solar in order to get all of this set up. Another group's projects was focused on teaching and curriculum. So what they did was they created a really comprehensive goal or a really comprehensive guide of all of the different sustainability classes and how those tie into different gen ed requirements and also different majors. So there were certain things like within the nursing school, classes that you could take that are actually related to sustainability, which is really cool because that's not something that you think of as an option. And this was a really cool resource because it's a good way to bring non-sustainability people in. One of my really big goals is to expand the sustainability community. I absolutely love the sustainability bubble at UVA. It's really strong, but we are always constantly trying to expand it and get more people excited about sustainability in order to make it a shared value. And so that's something that I've really been working towards as my position as the outreach chair. So with this resource, I was sharing it to many different groups, one of which was my sorority. So like Nora mentioned, I'm the sustainability chair for my sorority, which is Zeta Tau Alpha. This is a new position, which means that it comes with lots of flexibility, which is fantastic because I really have a lot of leeway with what I can do. So we have started things like composting at the house, encouraging plant-based eating. So a lot of things that Neil was just talking about earlier in this presentation. I also started a document in order to reduce fast fashion. So like Neil mentioned also, there is a lot of issues with fast fashion in college because people are constantly buying new clothes for different events. So I created a document where people can post things that they're willing to share with people. And then others can reach out and borrow the items at no cost. So that way, not only are they being sustainable, but it's also cheaper and much easier. So I found that a really great way to get people to act sustainably is by aligning these sustainable interests with personal interests. So in this case, people might not be using someone else's dress because it's this more sustainable option. They might be doing it because it's cheaper and easier, but it's still achieving that same sustainability initiative. So that's another thing that I'm trying to work towards. So another thing that I've been doing is trying to make events zero waste. And that leads me to another role that I have within the Office for Sustainability. We have been doing zero waste trainings for different CIOs and Greek life organizations. And so basically these are just 15 to 20-minute trainings that go over how to make events zero waste and also connect these CIOs and other organizations to how sustainability operates at UVA. So the waste goal that we have is super ambitious. Like Nora mentioned, it's a 70% reduction. So a lot of the other numerical ones are just looking at a 30% reduction, but this one is huge because it's a 70% change. And so we really need to engage the whole sustainability community or the entire university in order to achieve this. And so this has been a really fulfilling experience for me because I'm getting to share sustainability with people that wouldn't really reach out and try and work towards it otherwise. So I live and breathe sustainability. I get to see all of the progress on all of the efforts that are going into making UVA more sustainable, but it's really great to be able to share this with others as well. So another thing that I've been trying to do in order to make sustainability more of a shared value is partnership events with sustainability and non-sustainability groups in order to bring more people in. So last year, I was actually a part of the Sustainability Advocates program before I worked for the Office for Sustainability. And one of the projects that I worked on was for the overarching subject of climate change. And my specific group was focused on climate policy. And I actually worked on this with Nora. And we had a panel of people that were engaged with climate policy and climate law come and speak to students about what their careers meant and what they were doing. And so as part of this event, we obviously were trying to advertise it to people that we knew were engaged in sustainability and climate change. But another really big side of this was trying to bring in the pre-law people and bring in the people who are interested in politics and maybe hopefully grow their passion for sustainability this way. So I'm also engaged in a pre-law group on grounds at UVA. And so I did a lot of advertising for this event towards the pre-law group, and a lot of them were able to attend and get a little bit more excited about maybe the ideas of pursuing a career in climate policy. So they didn't really know what their focus was before. So overall, I'm just really grateful to be at a school that prioritizes sustainability as much as UVA does. And going forward, I want to keep the same momentum going, pursuing UVA's climate goals. And along with that, I really want to use my climate goals of growing the sustainability bubble and making sustainability a shared value to shape our actions going forward. Thank you.
So I know that was like a lot of information all at once. Does anyone have any questions from either the like goals side or also for the student speakers?
Well, excuse me, if no one has any questions, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us. You can stick around at the end if you have any other questions you would like to ask. Otherwise, please feel free to reach out to those that are UVA students to sustainability@virginia.edu and follow our social media handles, as well as following William and Mary's sustainability social media to sort of get engaged. We're doing a lot of fun events for our Earth Month celebration, Earth Day every day. There's events kind of like every day, sometimes more than one. So just feel free to make sure that you're following us on social media and checking your emails for the newsletters. And yeah, thank you guys again so much. And thank you to Neil and Julianne, to our speakers. We really appreciate you guys coming out and sharing about sustainability practices and how to get involved as a college student. And everyone have a great night. Thank you so much again for attending.
Thank you.